Back in the day, console wars used to actually be fun. Arguing over the exclusive games on the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis, and boy did we have so many exclusives on each console. But you could easily compare them. For example, we had Turtles in Time versus Hyperstone Heist, Super Castlevania 4 versus Castlevania Bloodlines, or how about the good old-fashioned Mario versus Sonic. Boy, those times were fun. However, even though back in those days we all had a preference, as soon as we got a chance to go to a friend's house to play the other console, we'd actually be excited to do it. There was console wars, but it was more of just a fun gimmick and gamers focused on games. However, times have definitely changed. I don't know if it's due to the internet and social media, or people have gotten so invested into a platform that Xbox or PlayStation has basically become part of their identity. Now, while I do still love seeing funny memes, after all, console warring can be fun, although lately I feel like it's rather just boring. Plus nowadays there's so many fanboys that act like if they touch the opposite controller of the other platform that they don't prefer, that they will literally melt like the witch from in The Wizard of Oz, which is really bizarre to me. Are these guys going to stick to a certain platform no matter what? Plus, I mean, to make it worse, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, in my eyes, are almost identical. Think about the majority of games that have come out so far this year. Dead Space Remake, our Resident Evil 4 Remake, Hogwarts Legacy, Jedi Survivor. All the games we've all been hyped for could be played basically anywhere. So realistically, the difference between these platforms is just so much less than it used to be in the 16-bit era. But still, console warriors do find reasons to cheer for their platform and hate the other one with such a passion. And honestly, most of the reasons they hate the other platform are just so bizarre to me. But before we get deeper into this topic, I want to take a brief moment and welcome anyone new to the channel. If you are new, please consider subscribing. I got a ton of stuff in the works that I would love to share with you all. Also, if you do happen to enjoy the video, let me know by dropping a like. But anyways guys, we got a lot to get into, so without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so I want to start the video off saying that I do think it's fair to criticize gaming companies in-game. When a game comes out, and it performs well, is terribly optimized, is full of bugs, is launching incomplete, we should be calling it out. But we're calling it out not as an Xbox fan mad at a PlayStation exclusive or a PlayStation fan criticizing an Xbox exclusive. We're calling it out as a consumer feeling ripped off that we bought a game that doesn't run well. I think it's justifiable if you're on PC and you bought The Last of Us Part 1 at launch and it didn't work. Yeah, criticize it. That was atrocious. If you're on PlayStation and you bought Forspoken and it's running at 720p, call it out. If you're on Xbox and you're excited about Redfall and it's going to be locked at 30 frames at launch, call it out. But I've seen people excited and calling out games and relishing in the fact when these games fail, when they launch complete. They're amazing games, they get great reviews from both critics and gamers. But some rumor shows that the game did not succeed, and you have fans just tweeting over and over again how excited they were to see the game fail. And of course, I'm talking about the recent news concerning Hi-Fi Rush. So Jeff Grubb was recently on a podcast and they were discussing Hi-Fi Rush, and he said this: based on what I've heard, it just straight up didn't make the money it needed to make. It got good reviews, the buzz was good, so where do you put the blame for something like that? So think about this. If this is true, this means a game with great reviews, tons of buzz, great community feedback, did not make enough money to make the company happy. Why would any gamer be excited for this news? Yet, from this simple quote, there was fanboys that took to Twitter and social media to claim how much of a flop Hi-Fi Rush was, going on long-winded tweets or making comment after comment discussing how it just didn't make money, how Microsoft's not happy with the performance of the game. And to make it even funnier, Just a short time later, Jeff Grubb actually put out this tweet. I was just trying to say that I heard Hi-Fi Rush didn't make the money it was expected to make. But to be clear, I really don't know how Microsoft measures success. This was just a small passing statement in a much larger conversation. It wasn't meant to make people worry about Hi-Fi Rush. Now, I'm showing all of this and actually putting it up on the screen not to call Jeff Grubb out or make him out to be a liar, but to put into context the original comment he made. First of all, it came from a 2-hour podcast. He was talking off the top of his head about something he heard about. Obviously, this was not meant to be taken as gospel. I mean, he was just discussing some information in a long, multiple hour-long conversation. It's not like he made a dedicated video to the topic or an article discussing the problem. I'm sorry, but we need to get past the point of taking things people say in long streams or podcasts as newsworthy and as like just factual truth, especially when they're just talking about rumors and information and having a conversation. He never did say it was 100% true. All he said was he heard it was. And to make matters even worse, Aaron Greenberg had a tweet that Hi-Fi Rush was a breakout hit for us and our players in all key measurements and expectations. We couldn't be happier with the team at Tango Gameworks and what they delivered with this surprise release. And even the head of Xbox, Phil Spencer, retweeted that. So I'm pretty sure the game did well for itself. But let's just say it didn't. Let's say it actually flopped. Why would anyone who calls themselves a gamer be happy about that? The game was actually really good and it performed well. It wasn't one of those games that just launches full of bugs and glitches, but you overlook those because it's fun. It actually delivered a quality product for Game Pass or anyone that paid for it up front. Yes, the game's not going to be for everyone, but you have to admit at that point it's just not meant for you, and the game is actually not awful. Have console wars really just turned into wishing the opposite failed, wishing that games flopped? There are some people out there that actually act like they cannot wait for the day that Xbox or PlayStation goes out of business. Back when I was a kid, I definitely had my preferred console, but I never wished for the opposite one to fail. I mean, could you imagine if you were a Super Nintendo fan, so big of a fan to the point that you wouldn't even touch a Sega Genesis controller? Could you imagine growing up never playing Sonic or Streets of Rage? How many great games would you have passed up on? By the way, really quick, before I wrap this up, I want to say, I have zero problem with console wars, but man, they used to actually be fun. In today's world, they're so boring. Remember when the systems were first announced? How many wannabe tech gurus came out talking about teraflops? It's like, are you a tech guru? Because I don't think you are. I don't even think you know what a teraflop is, to be honest, but yet you've made 20 videos about it. Or you're tweeting all day about it. Or how about more recently? How many gamers seem to be experts in acquisition law discussing the ABK deal? Don't get me wrong, you could talk about it. But do we really need 30 videos and 1,000 tweets from you discussing how it's anti-consumer and it should be illegal? I mean, you're not a lawyer, you're a gamer. You know, if you're a lawyer and you're talking about it, then I'd actually probably find that interesting. But I'm kind of nerdy, so I find weird stuff interesting. But if you're gonna get in the nitty-gritty of it, it's just boring. And honestly, talking about these things, especially in the console war area, is just tedious. But I want to hear what you all think. Do you think console wars have just become so toxic to the point that people aren't gamers anymore? They're just straight up fanboys? Or do you guys think I'm flat out wrong and I'm the one who has no idea what they're talking about? Let me know in the comments down below. As for me, I got a ton of work to do, so I'm gonna get back to the grind and I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.